Welcome to the next demonstration. This element is going to focus and extend on what we have shown you before on the central piece of the solution. We have illustrated to you previously how we can manage complex information, but managing complex information also means not just looking at it statically, but also being able to change it. So this element is focusing on change management of a complex product structure. When we're looking at it, we have to think about change management also in a life cycle perspective. That means that when you are early on in the life cycle of the product, you should have high degrees of freedom, meaning that it should be very simple to change your product. But of course, as you're moving forward and potentially including costs of external contract manufacturers, the degree of freedom is going down. You need more people involved to make the right judgment whether you should actually perform this change or not. This concept has already been included, therefore it is a fast way to get started working inside the electronic industry with this solution. What we've already completed is a full set of workflows, so that if you are early on in the process, it should be very simple to change. So it's typically what we would define as a minor change. So you can go from pending to released. But as you're moving forward through the life cycle, of course more people need to be involved in order to ensure that the right decisions are made. And therefore the next process includes an internal review before you're able to release it. Now we're talking at the next point about a major internal change, which could involve both an R&D review and also an operations review before it is released. Specific also to the electronic industry is that you have elements of collaboration. So why should the process stop within the four walls of a company? It speeds up and it creates a tremendous amount of efficiency if you're able to also extend your processes to your key partners. Therefore, already included in the system, you've got processes that take into account that potentially you've got a manufacturing partner that has to approve on the change before it is released. All of this is already incorporated, and that means that we can take down the effort of consulting before you start using the system tremendously. The way it is implemented is that there is one process to cope with it all, because as a user typically you are not always aware about, in this instance, should I use process A or process B. So therefore the system helps you by creating the workflows dynamically based on business rules. As an example illustrated here. This is a simple change, and therefore the system recognizes that you then only have a simplistic process with two steps that you have to go through. As you move forward through the life cycle, then more steps and people have to be involved before you are able to complete the change. Moving forward, even more people needs to be included. So in that element here, you see the system assisting the user in ensuring that the right processes are followed without having to maintain a lot of different workflows, without having to put a lot of specific logic into the system to cope with this. Inside the Aras system, there is an intelligent impact matrix that assists also the user in understanding what is actually the consequence of the change that we're doing. That is another big problem for a lot of people, because what is the consequence of me changing this actual document or this actual component? That often takes a lot of time. Some people even state to us that they have to find and use Sherlock Holmes in order to detect the changes required. So here the impact matrix is a way of illustrating that to you as a user. When we're doing a change, it both states to you what does the design that you want to change consist of, so it looks down, but it will also look upwards to mean that this GSM module, where is that used? So this assists the user in identifying what the consequences of the change might be. You are then able to define what you want to do as a part of this change with the item actions, and you're also able to control the target state, so the life cycle. Where are we right now in the life cycle and where are we moving to? This is the controlling parameter defining which type of a process are you going through and which type of people should be involved as well. Once you have completed the change and you have created it, then you're sending it out in an electronic workflow. That means that the people involved will receive an email, but they will also get a notification inside the Aras InBasket. From the Aras InBasket, or directly from the email, they can then go in, perform their work, and then update the activity, meaning moving it along in the workflow. You are able to specify what people should be able to do as a part of this process, and by voting you are now moving it forward in the workflow. You can, of course, if you're allowed, cancel it and also delegate it to others. The workflow engine of Aras is particularly powerful, because it ensures that things are moving forward, because it can either send out reminders, it can escalate, and everyone has got visibility of where the process is at this moment in time. What we want to do now in terms of the demo is that we want to illustrate how simple and how good the change engine of Aras is. So we're going to do a login into Aras. We're going to find a simple sub-assembly. We're going to look at what it consists of. We're going to create an engineering change order to that simple sub-assembly, look at the impact matrix and the consequences of that, complete the change, and then route it through the ECO process. You will then see how the design has been changed and view the changes. So we've logged into the Aras system now. We'll now go in and we'll find our simple sub-assembly. Again, going into the design section, under my parts, our simple search enables to give a fast way of searching. So I'll search for simple, that gives me my result. I'll double click to open up the details of my simple design. If I look inside the bill of material structure, I can now see that this actually consists of 4 different parts. This is what I'm going to change. So I'm going to the action menu and I'm adding this item to a change. I don't have to make any choices because we've incorporated it all into one process. So by clicking the OK button, I now get into the change management capabilities. So the simple stuff first, I'll give it a title. So I'll call it a demo change. I'll put in a priority. And what I can now do is that I can start looking in the section below where it is assisting me in what the consequences of the change is. What we started our change on was this simple sub-assembly. But the system helps me because it actually identifies that it is used in the accessory kit 002 and the accessory kit 001. So I now need to identify what is the consequence of my change. In this example, I will now highlight these 3 different elements and state the consequence of this change is that we need to have a major revise of our part. So if the form fit function change, I click on revise my part, and that will automatically, for the places where also the simple sub-assembly is, define what is happening. In the item action on the right hand side, you can see that the item action is that it's going to revise it. Even though the components are illustrated 2 times, you don't have to do it at both areas. If I click on these 2, these are still in a preliminary state, so as a part of this process I want to release the part. By doing that, it actually completes it in both areas. So the action here is that we're going to release the part. This component here, we want to replace that with a different component. So I'm going to right click, and the action here is that then I'm going to supersede it. As you can see, there are many different options, and we'll talk a bit more about them in just a moment. By clicking on the supersede button, it prompts me to state that I need to find a different released item, and then it opens up the search element. I'll then search for a replacement component, find it, and state OK. So now, as you can see again in both places, it has defined what is happening in this change. Last element, what we want to do here, is we want to use one of the other options. So here, actually I want to modify the bill of material. So by clicking on the modify bill of material, that now illustrates that I'm going to change that. So over here in the quantity section, I can now change it from the original 8 to, for instance, 4 as an example. By doing that, I have now completed my change. As a change agent, I've now illustrated all the things that we're going to do as a part of it. So the next thing that I need to do is that I now need to route it through my process. So I go to the sign off tab and state that I've now done my work, please send it out into the change process. It states to me that it is locked, so if other people are to work on it, I need to unlock it. So I'm okay with it being unlocked. I can see what I should have done as a part of this process in the change. I click on the Start Now and the Complete button. By doing this, now the system goes in and evaluates which process should I take it through. On the impact matrix, the product is still in preliminary both in the current state and in the target state as well. So it is now moving the process along. It is now created our product in the next revision. Here it is in preliminary. I can now do further changes to it, or I can simply move it along in the workflow to state that we have done what we should. So as this is a demonstration, I am completing all the actions. In the last step of the process, we have included a signature that can be taken away, but that is just to ensure that you don't by mistake complete the change. So what we're now doing is that we have now completed the change. It has only been a two-step process, as you can see right here. That is due to the system intelligently helping the user identifying should this be a simple process or a more advanced process as previously discussed. I can now go back in to look at my simple design to see how it has changed the product. So my sub-assembly now, if I look at the bill of material structure, I can now see that both components here are released. I can see that I have changed this component to my replacement component, and that I've also changed the quantity from 8 to 4. So this is how the system can help you fast and efficiently completing a very complex process with impact analysis in a fast and efficient way. So let's go back. So we've been through the login, we've found our simple sub-assembly, we've created an ECO associated with that, we've used the impact matrix to illustrate how we can assess the impacts and do the changes to it. We've routed the product through the ECO, we've opened the design to view the changes. This concludes this illustration of the change management element. If you want more information, please visit Minerva's website or Aras' website. Thank you.